Chapter 6 is a Guru Bhakti tears up one photograph from disciples, which I've serving as president under Yogi Jivan disciple. A young attended Praga secretly placing photograph of PS under Murthy, so SM and YM daily puja one morning, noticing the photograph without a word, reached over, snatched it, tore it into pieces, threw it in the toilet in disgust, asked why. Well, because YM is president, so no one else's photo can actually be kept. Leaves mid festival and on YM's word alone. Specifically, they asked by YM to assist at an important Murti Pratishta ceremony in the village. And the night before the consecration, a letter arrived from God asking that PS be sent back immediately for urgent work without questioning the importance of their errand or whatever was needed. Without weighing his own role on in tomorrow's ceremony, immediately stood up, asked for YM's command, and on hearing leave at once, prepared to go within minutes, even declined a taxi. And no need to spend extra money. The train will actually come. Holds firm against all opposition, planning for YM's 75th birthday celebration, 1967. Festival committee debated venue. New YM favorite Gondola was his home soil. Beloved Ghanshyam recited, and so because he even though he faced an acute water crisis after a failed monsoon, they said, "No, do you have any common sense? No, tens of thousands will come and die of thirst." It was impossible, but PSM was unmoved. We shall celebrate in Gondo because that was the wish of YM. Writing to Yogi that the Niagara Falls cannot compare. So after visiting Niagara Falls during a tour, PS wrote, "No wonder in the world can equal the three wonders." Maratomi and YM. So not any physical wonder, but the three wonders of MSYM. After seeing them, nothing else remains to be seen. When he visited Niagara Falls during a tour, response on seeing and receiving YM's hair. So they coveted physical relics of Swami Shri, a strand of shaved hair, discarded that than a piece of old cloth, but he consistently discards this. Oh, no, none of this is actually worth anything. And so he personally throwing away his shaved hair so that no one else is able to actually retrieve it. Longtime Pragat Bhagat totally boasted of having hair from YM's tuft, and it declared he would not even want Swami Shri's hair applied. It worth millions of rupees. Pushed back, saying if he were to pay millions of rupees for it, he actually does not need to. He does not need to have YM's here because he has YM himself. And so it's not actually a poetic boast, right? Because it's a statement of experienced spiritual reality. Neither night or day, 157 homes for a single day. Sanctify 157 homes, a procession ending three in the afternoon, rested briefly, 6 to 10, visit 100 more homes, typical day before 6 in the morning and past midnight. Villages answer, correspondence dictate instructions, attend and sing arti. So I described touring was a rush. It was amazing to see how so they satisfy so many people. It was not only that elevating people dives through flood water to keep his word, right? Dr. Rambhai Patel organized a pattern and massive thunderstorm flood blocked the road night so for so she was able to come, and so he was genuinely worried. He promised to attend rather than accepting the option. He borrowed a high and drove through the entire flood himself, bypassing the impassable road. By that time, Rambhai found a vehicle of his own. So actually had already arrived. So he drives through this entire floodwater just to keep his word to Rambhai. Turns back to complete mist, but the round is at midnight. So attended describes the character's pattern. One occasion, after an extensive round of home visits, driving to Havan for the night, group of devotees say, hey, some homes are actually still left for Padrami. So he put his plug on, then he went back to do these Padramis, visited the extra homes, returned it upon after midnight. So this pattern not once but repeated constantly. So someone called out from the roadside his car was pulling that they had been missed. He was small step out of the car and again. His vow of non-refusal was told. No one who would ask to do the Patram was ever turned away. Grinds millet in a flour mill to please a devotee. And so this is the entire incident. Visiting a devotee who was invited to pour a cup of millet into the new flour mill and say, if you grind the millet, I'll never lack for flour again. So then what he did is he grasped a heavy stone handle, grounded the millet himself, and is such an elderly spiritual master of an international organization turning a stone millet by hand simply to fulfill a simple villager's wish and to express his love. And these were the moments that exemplified his intense love and gratitude and compassion towards the devotee's exhausting day and waterless fast ending at midnight, 9/7/1979. Left at 8 in the morning. Ekadashi completed this waterless fast, no water energy, no food or water all day schedule, included processional home visits, blessings. They were Saturn Yagna consecrated Murthy's public assembly in this village, retired after midnight. It was extremely exhausted, face glowed to satisfaction. It's me, PSM, suffers heart attack. So when he did suffer a heart attack, he had hidden the tightness, did not even tell nobody about his tight pain in the chest, tightness in the chest, and that he suffered heart attack. But he was lying on the cot, preparations being made, immediately rushed to the hospital. Where the car had barely even been pulled away before he had stopped message to deliver, go down in my place. Oh, I won't be able to go. And so why did he want to go to the Anand? Because these devotees would be disappointed because they had requested him to actually visit their home. So even in the moment of a medical emergency, when the attendant's house was fraught with worry about what would happen, his first instinct was not his own condition, but actually a disappointment of a group of devotees who were waiting for him, who he had given his promise to that he would arrive there. So encapsulates chapter compassion for others, overriding personal suffering, finds the blind devotee Manibai in the crowd. So descended from the assembly hall, and Botas and crowd surged forward for the Russian commotion. Only one person remained sitting and still, and that was Manibai. He was blind. He could hear the excitement all around, but he could not move until someone helped. And so his eyes actually found him. He had wasted Manibai and placed his hand slightly on his head till the descendants. Who is it? Well, it's me, PSM. Also, unable to absolutely move because he was absolutely filled with grace that PSM has showered upon him. Brief exchange, tender and private, within a chaotic crowd. He finds his blind devotee, even in the midst of hundreds of thousands of people. He was able to find this midst of the devotee and give him love and compassion. 3 days at Rambai's bedside, preparing a terminal patient for liberation. So he was diagnosed. So Rambai was diagnosed with terminal cancer. He was asked for darshan, chose to stay 3 full days in his home rather than send blessings from a distance. So each day that he spent with him, he spoke about God, guided him away from all the material attachment. And then the third day, draped his own saffron shoulder cloth worn for 2 months, and he said that you have taken saffron clothes, you are now free from this material world, past your time and budget. And so he promised that after Uttarayan Maj would take him to Akshardham. And the exact day that he predicted, he actually went to Akshardham. He sure by at death's door received Sanji's personal visit. So on the way to celebrating Vasant Panchami, he stopped at Jitodia. And it was not just out of convenience, but it was actually for compassion and to serve someone. And so Ishwar, a long time devotee, on his deathbed, so he goes beside him, goes to his bed, and gently massages his chest and says, "You've completed whatever has needed to be done. So this Chakravarti has arrived. So Hare Krishna Maharaj is actually granting you darshan, grant him eternal happiness." And he placed drops of holy water between Ishwar close play. Pray that his soul depart in peace. Days later, exact day of his passing as well. He actually predicted that exact same day. Rajendra Ajmera's dying wish to receive Swami darshan. So this was a young man who was stricken by disease, taken from Kolkata to Mumbai and the USA and back, no cure found. Near death experience, Kolkata, one wish to receive Swami before he passed away, and so Swami absolutely was going to fulfill that. The young man was brought in, last wish was fulfilled, and incident stands as part of a pattern. Terminally ill, lonely, overlooked, who found in Swami's personal presence not merely comfort but tangible connection to the divine. Pancharatma, five religious vows, and not even refusing, even in the dire circumstances, even when it is very incredible to think that the but no, he is extremely firm in his observance of the five religious vows or the Panchavartama, refusing request to bless his mother. So 1977 tour president met Swami at the presidential palace, deeply impressed, asked him to enter his mother's room, but she was 90 years old, gravely ill. But he said that I will not refuse. I will not do this. I will not refuse my observance of this vow. So tell him that because of our vow, we cannot go near a woman. So he blessed her. Tell him that Swami has blessed her, and blessings will reach her, and she will get well. And so the president was absolutely amazed at this vow's intensity. So he accepted this with respect, and he knew that even though he was far away, but that his blessings, even from a distance, were just as powerful as though they were up close. There was eye surgery at Massachusetts General Hospital, male nurses only, diagnosed with these cataracts, required absolute urgent surgery. And so he agreed to have this operation only under a single condition, that no female nurse were to approach him, even while he was unconscious. So whether he was in the waking state or the dreaming state, deep sleep state, you wanted to make sure that only male doctors were able to operate upon him. So a male doctor served as a nurse, so the devotee performed anesthesia. Female nurses accustomed to other patients demanding female care. They were absolutely astonished. They grew to deeply respect him for his vows. Accidental touch, so blessing the children, and the devotee saw the child named the act turned out to be a girl introduced him. The moment he absolutely realized it, withdrew his name, immediately left his own and did not assign any single blame to the devotee who had forgotten the vow. And so he bathed in the river Kelai, and he actually fasted for the rest of the day, not drinking any water, or not even taking his heart medication. So this was the level of intensity that he had. Even in a slight misobservance in his vow, he was able to make sure that he paid repentance for that. defending celibacy against a journalist challenge. So on Action obviously directly in an interview that have you ever considered making a change in the vow of celibacy in these modern times? Because these times are modern, these are not like old days. We must adapt. That was a logical argument. He said, whatever vows we have are correct. There's nothing needs to be that changed. We're determined to safeguard the vows given to us by BS. People may like it or not, but these are the vows that we have and we have to stick with them and they're not going to be changed. Defending a woman who crossed his path in Nadia. So Nadia walked up with Rami surrounded youths. Woman crossed paths, stopped, looked at ground, immediately looked at the ground. And so several devotees around him scolded the woman, but Swamiji said that this is not actually her fault. She doesn't know about this. She is unaware of this other's vows. So the roads were public property. And so if it was he and his others who had to take care. So if a woman were directly on the path, it was they who should avoid her. So if a woman ever has to be asked to step aside, it should be done as a humble request. And so even this celibacy was paired with unfailing respect for women, did not blame them, and told them that it is actually their responsibility to make sure that they don't have contact and they removed paths, right? And he did not put blame on them. God first flushes away his own shaved hair to prevent adultery. So after monthly head shaving, desperately attempted to retrieve even a strand of his hair, but he refused all requests and he threw his shaved hair into the toilet and flushed it. And same treatment to his trimmed nails. And so he said, "What need do I have of YM's here? I have YM himself." This is another incident that appeared in one of the other chapters as well, rejecting the government's offer to expand this thus relief role. So there was a trustees meeting discussing the drought relief. Some of the government appraised some management so high, incredibly high officials saying government relief work should be handed over to the census said that it was all just talk. Even if they want to give it to us, we're not ready to accept it. We have come to worship God and to help others do the same. We are not here to take all of these different responsibilities to do government relief work, to take these responsibilities over to the sense that we have one mission only, and we are not going to derail from that mission. And so this was not just false modesty, but it was a precise theological declaration. But yes, social work is essential, but the primary mission, yes, we're going to do all these different social endeavors and works and help the society, but our primary mission is God consciousness, and we want to redirect the entire conversation from institutional ambition, which is more about elevating the institution, the organization to the level that we want it to be, deterring from that and focusing more mainly on the spiritual goal and the spiritual path and the spiritual journey. David and his brothers declines to continue his Nirvana Samadhi. So 15 May 1994, a man named David arrived with his twin brother, and he said, 4 days ago, appeared in his dream. He explained what Nirvana Samadhi was, and he says, does your Nirvana Samadhi stay 24 hours a day? He says, yeah, we walk, we talk, we do everything, but we could keep God with us. So yes, it does. And so David asked how he could achieve this. How could he achieve this? He says that by the Guru's grace, you can achieve this by being faithful to the Guru's commands. So if you are being faithful to the Guru's commands, that is the way to achieve Nirvana Samadhi. Everything is just response to a devotee shop arrived with the Rami devotees. The shop probably say, do like this shop? What is there to like? Everything is dust. And so he understood that even though materially this shop actually had a lot of the pleasurable items, he said that in the grand scheme of things, everything is actually dust, right? You don't actually take this with you at the end of the day. Explain that material things were temporarily. Dust would ultimately return to dust. Only God was eternal and the full fountainhead of true bliss. Sansagis remembers devotee from hundreds of Vadodara youths. So there was an assembly in Vadodara. So she walked to his room through a crowd of hundreds of youths, and he spotted this Satsangi, and he called him out. Why haven't you come until today? Last 4 days, I had you in mind and thought about you, but it kept forgetting. So you should actually come every day, not just this day, but every single day. So he touched his Guru feet, overwhelmed. And why was he overwhelmed? Because of hundreds of different faces met Swami Shri, but he remembered and carried this one specific person in his mind for 4 days, noting his absence, intending and actually caring to actually inquire about him. Does not believe in God would leave Swami Shri's presence bowing. So father dragged teenage son to Swami Shri. He says he doesn't believe God. He said teenager stood silent, expecting a scolding, but he says that does he live ethically? Does he do wrong? Any addictions? Meet alcohol to each? The teen said no. Then he said, then you do believe in God. Believe that God is the doer and all these things. He will give you strength and courage. God is said for a blessing. Thought here's a person who really understands me. And this exemplifies his extraordinary capacity to meet a person exactly where they were and guide them forward without any single judgment. He did not judge him, but he was able to guide him towards a sense of peace and was able to change some of his structural beliefs that he had, teaching Wachubei the patience of helping an addicted son. So Wachubei was a incredibly lower middle class devotee, came to Swami through grief, said his son has taken up regular drinking, tried once, said cannot be stopped, said bring it to me, we'll talk him. Even if he comes to the mother, makes friends with the sons, we'll tell him once and maybe he'll stop and start again. So we'll tell him a second time and then again. And so after a time, he will drop the habit. So he was taught patience, and Swami was saying that each person had his own pace, and we have to respect and be able to coach and be able to teach and mentor that individual by his own accordance. London youth followed Swami's car through the streets. So the second generation Indian youth barely spoke Gujarati. They knew very little satsang arrived at Swami's accommodation to serve him. They followed his car through London in vehicles, trying to memorize the number plate, so they don't want to lose. They didn't want to lose him at these traffic lights. So after Kodaramis, they were form a corridor for him to walk through his car, and so he once even whispered that it was fine for them to come along. So the youths were called. It was like a game. So these youths, roughs, English speaking, culturally alienated from India, were being imperceptibly but powerfully drawn into satsang through the sheer love that Swami had. We have a couple more here that I'll go through. We have a leader stayed up all night to ensure that the festival wall was being built. Was at the Atlanta celebration where Shashi Mata preparations were being made. Volunteers refused. Pressed Pramukh Maharaj to sleep. He should sleep. He should get this right. But he quietly refused. He's a 44 years old, tired president of Satsang, but he actually stayed up, and he spent the entire night keeping them company, supervising, ensuring that this wall that was essential for the celebration was actually complete. More in the more early morning, wall was done, bathed, completed his puja, returned to oversee YM's inauguration of the festival. So even though he was actually in a great leadership position, he made sure that the wall was complete in order for the celebration for Shashi Maharaj to happen properly. Rebuilding the fire damaged festival gateway overnight. And so during the bicentenary celebration of Gurunath Swami in 1985, the fire broke out, destroyed the left wing of the monumental gateway festival's entrance. Wood and plywood went up in flames, and the gateway now was unbalanced. But instead of postponing or scaling back or saying it's okay, he inspired his team to rebuild the entire single wing overnight. And so by morning, it was actually restored. And so that this means, and this shows that he turns crisis into demonstration of the possible calmness, decisive action, faith in Mother's will, replacing panic and making sure to correct the things that he knows should be corrected immediately and not waiting for a long time. We have the entire violent teacher who couldn't control his anger, so the teacher violent rage, smashing child's radio in fury, bashing a bicycle with playing brought his family, his stream, and said that your anger will eventually go away. Blessed him. He reported over 4 years followed. Anger almost entirely disappeared and subsided, changed his life, indebted to him for life. Dozens of similar transformations have undergone argues through his personal spiritual authority. The experience through his touch, his personal spiritual authority carried this transformative power that conventional counseling could not even replicate. And so because of his simple words and simple advice, he was able to transform a person who had intense rage and intense anger, who by pure logic it would seem incredibly difficult for him to help resolve and to be at peace. But because of PSM's just simple words and simple advice and guidance, he was able to change his entire course of his emotions and the entire course of his life. Opposing bingo at a religious organization, drawing the line in gambling, he says that sharp response. He wrote, "This is a religious organization. Is it appropriate for you to pamper something for nothing, even just for a play? If religious people like us play bingo, then youngsters will think that this religion has freedom to gamble, but this is not the truth. So we don't want to set this example. So that is why he set this sharp response that we hate. We should not play bingo or even organize bingo or even think about even playing bingo as just a game." At this religious organization. So he draws a clear, firm line because he doesn't want to set an example for the rest of the youths. Stop there.